Hey, welcome back to Jason Unleashed. Hi, how's it going, you guys? Happy Thursday. Jason Carter here. Great to see you. Great to have you here. Thank you so much for watching. And you're going to be in love with today's show because my guest is a trailblazer, a history maker. She is the first Afro Latina to host on the NFL Network. She hosts TotalAccess. I'm talking about MJ Acosta Ruiz. She is in the building. She just stepped into the chat room. Hi, MJ. Let's bring her in and go live with MJ. And let's just chat it up. So excited to talk to her. She's from the MIA to the LAX. And now she is changing the face of how we see and view NFL on national television. It's going to be good. Here she comes in just a few. MJ, MJ, MJ. I don't know why it's taking so long to connect these days. What's going on? Let's see. Let's do another one. Let's send it again. Let's go live with MJ. Takes a minute sometimes. Yesterday. Boom. There you are. MJ, hi.
Hi.
Oh my gosh, good to see you. Welcome to Jason Unleashed. How you doing?
I love it. Thanks for having me. I'm doing good. I'm jealous. Look at you in the MIA, just palm trees.
Right. Well, okay, so I feel as though like the universe is working out weird in a good way because here I am talking to a Miami legend. People love you here in Miami. And then I'm new to Miami. I feel like I'm being virtually welcomed by you and Joy Taylor and your good friend Kelly Blanco. So Thank you for welcoming me to Miami.
We leave Miami in good hands with you.
and I accept it. First of all, good to see you. Good to have you on the show. Huge congratulations.
Thank
you.
On
not only on becoming another stellar talent for the NFL Network, but on your marriage. Congratulations. Getting married in 2020. Tell us about it because wild is an understatement. You started off the normal route. We're going to plan it. We're going to have our friends, give us recommendations. Then you said, bump that. We're eloping.
Yes. It was nuts. So our plan for elopement started pretty much when the pandemic hit. We were like, we can probably just sort of lock this in, just the two of us. It's so uncertain. We don't know what's coming. Let's just, we've been together almost 8 years. So we didn't really feel the need for a lengthy engagement, if you will. But our plan was going to be to do it up in Napa. We were living in the Bay Area at the time. But it was very, very restricted, sort of on and off again, opening and closing. So we were like, you know what, maybe it'll happen this fall. Who knows? And then suddenly, I got this new job. We were moving to LA. He also works in sports. So the calendar was just about to get crazy. So at the end of August, we were like, we need to take a few days just for the two of us before we're super lockdown, crazy busy. So we decided to look for a little just getaway. Yeah. And suddenly another Miami girl, Ceci Serrato, who's a fabulous publicist, said, listen, if you guys need a getaway, come through to the LeBlanc Resort in Cabo. We got you, come through. It's super safe. Look at our protocols. And we felt safe enough to okay, we can head there and just take a few days. And jokingly, I said, wouldn't it be funny if we just eloped and did it while we were there? And she's like, that's available to you if you would like to do so. So at this point, we're 11, 12 days away from actually getting to Cabo. And we were like, do we do this? What? We looked at the backdrop and just the resort itself, and we were like, all right, no brainer. This is, God knows the next time we'll both be off at the same time. Let's just do it. So in less than 2 weeks, I found a dress, got it rushed ordered, customized, altered. He found a suit. We found a makeup artist over there. And thankfully, the resort took care of everything else. We were also in the middle of moving from San Francisco to LA, starting this new job. It was the most stressful 2.5 weeks of my life, but also the most beautiful and the most just fulfilling as well. So I don't know how brides do it, planning a wedding for more than 2 weeks, because no.
The most.
No, elopement is the move. I'm telling you.
But I think it's also very indicative of just how you've rolled in life. You just grab life by the horns and say, you know what, we're doing this. Let's go, and just buckle in and hold on.
Totally. I mean, you have to be able. I feel every morning you got to wake up and get your stretch in. Let's go, because we don't know what's coming, right? So you just have to roll with it and really appreciate the beauty even in the challenges, and it's not always going to be cute. I've been through some very, very rough times in the middle of this pandemic, even through this transition, but there's I've always found that you can find beauty or hope in something, whether it's your
Right.
people who are holding you up, whether it's new opportunities, or whether it's just learning that, dang, I did that. Like, I got through that. There's always
Yeah.
something that you can glean from those moments, for sure.
I would agree that those moments for sure, MJ, are what really defines, I wouldn't say defines your life, but defines character. And to your approach is the glass is half full. And I think that's definitely been what you've hanged your hat on in your career. Let's talk about your career. Again, congratulations. History-making move for you. The first Afro Latina host for the NFL Network, which you kill it. Hands down, you're such a joy to watch.
Thank you.
So much fun. You're Dominican. You come from New York Miami by way of New York.
Yeah.
Lovely family. When did sports touch your life? When did sports knock on that door and be like, MJ, are you down the roll? When did that happen for you?
Oh, it's always been part of my life. My dad played for the Pro League in the Dominican Republic before I came around, but basketball was always such a huge part of his life. So even as a kid, while he wasn't playing professionally anymore, once we had moved to New York, he was still in a league. So almost every day he's like, all right, you have your homework, grab your stuff, we're going to the gym. And it was always him just practicing on the court, teaching me sort of the love of the game. And then we grew up in New York, in Washington Heights, huge Yankees fans.
Yeah.
This was in the 90s when the Yankees were like, it was just championship after championship,
Right.
not to
Killing
flex,
it.
but just saying.
The truth. Yeah, yeah.
So it was a huge part of my life as well. And of course, we're Dominican, so baseball always part of it, no matter what. So there was never a time where sports wasn't a very prominent part of my life, of the culture around me. So once, it took me a very long time, sidebar, to realize that broadcast and journalism was the career path I wanted to go on. But ultimately, once I did find this passion for it, I knew that sports was very much the niche that I wanted to follow. Like it was a no-brainer.
And one, I think that comes across in how you so passionately report on sports. You talk about sports because, I mean, I'm not a sports fan, believe it or not, because I was never good at sports. And right? It's like the stereotype is if you're black and 6'2", you can dunk, or you have that that extra mutant power that makes you run faster than any other human. That definitely wasn't me. However, I would say that watching you talk about sports and how passionately you just deliver the headlines. You're so effusive about the players and their experience and what's happening on and off the field speaks to how you're definitely in your lane and in your calling. And your versatility is one thing I really love about you, because you cut your teeth in local news. You know, you did lifestyle, you did entertainment, in addition to sports on the side. What did you learn in those genres that really helped you kick ass even harder in sports broadcasting?
There is no better training, I think, for anyone who is pursuing something in this sort of space, in journalism and broadcast, than breaking news, hard news coverage. I mean, that will lay the foundation and the groundwork for anything that you have to do. Even now, yesterday we had crazy breaking news in the sports world, right? The Titans and the Steelers had to postpone their game because of the COVID-19 outbreak. I mean, that is as newsy as you're going to get when it comes to the sports world. And I immediately kicked into those instincts, remembering my time at Local 10 in Miami, like, all right, there's a wrong way crash and it's 5 a.m, like, grab your stuff, get in the news van and go. And you're grabbing the information as it comes, making sure everything is correct. But I also sort of get a little rush from that part of it. Like, news in itself, hard news was not my lane, was not my calling. It wasn't what set my soul on fire every morning when I had to go into work. But it taught me everything I needed to know to be successful in the other avenues that I covered, even in entertainment, in lifestyle. It all has intersectionality. It all layers up and it all intertwines. And I think it was, I learned sort of on the job by doing, like, you're either going to sink or swim.
There you go.
I'm not a strong swimmer, but I'm going to find a way to hold on to something and get through this. So I really, really enjoyed that experience. And it really teaches you what you're made of, like, if you're really cut out for this industry, because there's no margin for error, and you really have to stick it every time.
Every time. Want to say hello to people in the comments that are just loving the hell out of you. Ali Sohain says, MJ, you're so awesome. Such an inspiration to girls wanting to pursue sports reporting like me. NBC Latino says hi. Jacob Bucci says hey.
My people.
Yo, MJ, the Oak JRP we 20 says the truth is I only watch NFL Network to see MJ. Boom, boom, boom.
Get me right in the fields up in here.
Hey, the people are speaking. One story that always makes me smile about you, and that me and actually your good friend Kelly Blanco talked about over Cheesecake Factory, is how you don't give up. You were a Hurricanes cheerleader. You went out for the Miami Dolphins 5 times, right? Yeah. And that was something that you wanted to do, and you were not chosen for the team the four times before, made it for the 5th time, and then boom, there you are. To me, that is just as impressive as landing on the NFL Network. That is just as impressive as any other major accolade, because no one really understands, or no one really talks about the L's, right? No one talks about the real work that goes into being successful. It's not when you get the job. That's like, that's kind of the gift of purchase, right? That's
totally.
Like, yeah. It's when all the setbacks, the questioning of your talent, the erosion of your self-esteem, the harassment, a myriad of crappy things that happened to you. Yeah. But tell us about that experience and what made you want to really stick it out and go back year after year, and what did that prove to you? How did that change your life besides just the experience?
I think it speaks to how bad do you want it. Right? I think if you want something bad enough, if it's that deep in your gut and in your soul, you are going to do whatever it takes to get there. And for me, at that point in my life, it was to become a Miami Dolphins cheerleader. I've been a dancer my entire life.
Same.
And so, at that point, I was transitioning from like having just danced for the University of Miami as a Hurricaneette to like, okay, the next step then is like a professional, pro league dancer. Right. So my friends and I auditioned, some of my best friends, Janine and Rosie. I had to like convince one of them, Rosie, to like, come on, girl, just come on, just try out. She's like, I don't know. Sure enough, Rosie made the team, Janine made the team, and your girl was left, and I was thrilled for them, like so happy. But like, I remember they also encouraged me too, like, no, like, okay, next year, come back. And so it's like being happy for them and excited and supporting them, going to games, going to their like calendar unveiling and all of this stuff. And knowing like, I know that I can be there. Like, I know that I can achieve this. It's just a matter of one, timing. And there's other dynamics that you're not even privy to. You don't know how the team structure is. You don't know why they select whom. And I think it's important to remember that it's also like not your job to know that stuff.
Right.
It's True. Your job to focus on what your goal is and to continue moving. And I just had it so deeply ingrained in me that I could make it, that I could do it. And so the next year I went. And for those who aren't familiar with the audition process, it's not just like one day you show up, you dance, and that's it.
It's like
weeks.
Right. It's
long.
It's long, it's grueling, and physically, emotionally, and mentally, because the stakes are very high. And people look at dancers as like the bottom of the totem pole, right? And there's different lanes of dancing, right? And so you have league dancers for like the Dolphins. Yeah. And they don't understand that, one, you guys are also athletes yourselves. Dancers are athletes themselves. And two, it's a job. It's not like you just get cute in some outfit and go out there and rah-rah and pom-pom. It's an actual job. So that audition process is painful. I know many a dancer who's like, but you obviously are glutton for pain and crazy because you went back 4 times.
A bit of a masochist, apparently. But yeah, so like for 4 years in a row, I did that. And so like there's cuts along the way. I would make it all the way to the finals and then not hear my number called at the end, and that 4th time, like it really hit me. Because at this point I'm like in my 20s, like, okay, girl, like what you gonna do? You just gonna like wait around? So I focused on school. I focused on other dance opportunities. I started my career. There was a very big lag between my 4th attempt and my 5th attempt. Right. But I had already started my career at this point, and I was reporting, and I was like, man, I still have this little inkling in me. Like, if I don't give this one more shot, I'm going to regret it the rest of my life. Right. And I try not to live under the scope of what if, even if it doesn't come to fruition, but at least you gave it that shot, right? You can check that off. Like, all right, you know what? That wasn't on me. And sure enough, my 5th time was the year that it was meant for me to make that squad. Like, what if I had never, it was one of the most fulfilling, most amazing experiences as a performer, as a sports fan. Are you kidding me? I had the best seat in the house at every Miami Dolphins home game. On top of being a fan of the team, now I can actually study the game from a perspective that very few people ever get. Right. It was very strategic too. Like, don't don't get it twisted. Like, your girl was thinking ahead of these things, right?
Right.
And then also just like the lifelong friendships that I made. Those
Sure.
women on the team are some of the most incredible, hardworking women. You have my friend Georgia, who is a nurse anesthetist, would run in literally in her scrubs after working her shift at the hospital, change into uniform, and boom, we were practicing 4 hours a night. You know what I mean? To your point, I was in the best shape of my life. But it was really hard to balance a full-time job, a full-time career, and then dedicate essentially another full-time vocation in cheering. But when you love it, it doesn't matter.
And also, I think, it also speaks to how you kind of let go. The first 4 times, there was not a desperation, but there was a real wanting of being on the team, right? And you were also grateful to the people who had made it. You were supportive. You put that positive energy out there.
Yeah.
You let go and said, you know what? Let me move in this direction and focus on something else I'm passionate about. And in the universe, if you want to get really like altruistic, but it said, okay, MJ, you manifested this. Let me give it to you at the right time when it's going to serve you the best.
Correct.
Right?
Yeah.
It's going to serve, and look, and as you said, which I didn't even think about that. Wow, the perspective of me being deeper ingrained in your passion, how that's going to exponentially give you more ammo to fire with.
Exactly.
For the job that you are now slaying for the NFL Network. Again, a trailblazer. Making history, first Afro Latina. And I don't, MJ, I don't like to say first on things because I think that people, it leans back on like we're other, right? Like we're like,
sure.
But in the case of yourself, I'm going to keep it there because you deserve those flowers. You deserve that job regardless. But
right.
now you're here on the NFL Network, killing the game, the road to the NFL Network, because that's a coveted seat. That's a coveted chair. That's a coveted place to be in.
Yeah.
And validating and really just cements all that hard work. How are you feeling? And what was the road to the NFL Network?
Yeah, I mean, it was one of those, like, you break through the barricade where it says this road is closed, but you got to go through here anyway because it's going to lead you to where you're supposed to be. A lot of detours, a lot of twists and turns, and a lot of pit stops too, if we're going with this analogy. I like it. I like this analogy. We're going to work with it. Starting a local news, as a freelance reporter too in Miami. And I think a lot of people think of like the journalist road, it's no longer just very cut black and white, like you're going to go to your small market, you're going to do this, and then you're going to move up. Like I took a different path, and that was a risk in and of itself. But I bet on myself in that space, and being fully bilingual helped me tremendously in being able to secure a job in a major market like Miami. I also got lucky too. That is not lost on me. Like these opportunities that sort of I was able to really run with. There was luck and blessings involved in that as well. But you have to know, to your point, we were talking about earlier, how to grab things and really run with it and have the confidence in yourself to go. And at times I didn't even see it as such, hindsight. I'm like, damn girl, like you really, but in the moment I didn't even think about it. It's like, okay, this is what I'm going to do. This is what I want. It's another step in the direction that I want to go in. And as when you're in your 20s, when you're trying to figure out what it is that you're supposed to do, you don't think of those things in the analytical, broader sense. You're just like, we just got to go. It's grind mode. It's hustle. This is the opportunity in front of me. So I worked in Miami for the first 6-7 years of my career, and then ultimately wanted to focus full force on the sports side of it. So an opportunity came about in San Diego to be the lead sportscaster there. And it was one of those like, dang, and am I ready for this? Like, it doesn't matter. Like, if it's there, then you're ready.
Right.
You're going to do it. And I took a lot of L's there too. I learned a lot about just being in that sort of prominent role, about having to steer the ship. I had never been in that position before. So there was a lot of times where I fell flat on my face, but what are you going to do? Like, go home and cry in a corner? Yes, I did that too. But I also got up the next day, threw on the concealer, and had to keep it pushing. There was no other choice there. And then to get the opportunity in San Diego to be able to broadcast in both English and Spanish was tremendous for me, because there weren't many people, if any, doing that simultaneously in the United States. It's really, really rare. So I think that really set the table in order to get me to the next level. In the middle of that was when I decided, you know what, I'm done fitting into the little box of what a newscaster, of what a journalist should look like. And I chopped off all my hair and started growing out Angela, as we call the fro.
Well, with that said, though, that's what I wanted to ask you about that as well, because watching your journey and seeing you and seeing your evolution from when you were here in Miami on WPLG and then going to San Diego, and then your natural hair journey, how did the universe reward you for unleashing Angela and you been able to be authentically MJ? Because a lot of women, especially Black women in journalism and just in this business, all facets, are now embracing that. My friend Erica Cobb on Daily Blast Live had a huge natural hair moment, right? And for yourself, though, how did the universe say, you know what, I got your back on this, when you decided to be more authentically MJ?
I think what was happening too is the external part of it was pushing me towards it. I mean, my hair, and it seems to a lot of people very trivial, like, oh, it's just your hair. But don't forget that we work in a visual medium.
Yes.
And not just that, but it's part of who we are. It's an extension of our culture, of our personality in every way. And so like my hair was literally frying off. I would brush it and like the ends would just wither away. I was like, I'm gonna end up bald up in here. Like, and on top of that, I was very unhappy. I mean, it goes, you know, into sort of just every part of you, physically, mentally, emotionally. And I said, something has to change. There has to be a jolt to stop this. And on the weekends, I was like, all right, let me just let my hair breathe, let the curls come out. I was like, oh, they're still there. Okay, I see you, girl. And so one day I just popped in like, okay, let me just see what happens. And the response was not what a lot of other women have faced, which is a lot of backlash. It was the opposite. Everyone was like, oh my God, I had no idea your hair was curly. Like, how cute. Like, why don't you ever wear it like this? I was like, all right, I'm just going to keep showing up and see what happens. And then it was one of those things where I felt more in my light because I was being truthful to who I was in every way. And so the confidence that comes with that, sort of being able to reflect who you really are, and allowing the people who are watching you, who look like you, to see that reflection of themselves. Something I had in very short spurts, very few examples, if any, when I was growing up. So I didn't feel like I could actually do it because there was really no example,
right.
I know, short of like Sage Steele, who is now a friend who I speak with quite often about hair and other things in this business. But it was one of those moments where the second I did it and I showed up that day, regardless of how nervous I was about it, I knew your gut just tells you. Your gut rarely steers you wrong. You know what I mean? Like that intuition, believe it. What it's telling you is on point.
Well, and that's why it's there.
And I never looked back. It's been almost 3 years without having straightened it, flattered, nothing. Like it's been all, and she has rewarded me. Look at her.
That's what I love it. I love it. I think you're so striking on camera. There's really no one like you on television. And I'm not saying that because like I love and adore you. It's the truth though. And I watch a lot of TV and there's no one like you on television in a myriad of different ways. Not only from how you look, and so this is a visual medium, but also how you connect with your audience and also how you connect with players. I'm going to ask you about BLM and what's happening right now with the league in just a second. But you had mentioned that growing up and not seeing people that look like you on television, now with social media and the availability that people have to you 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
Right.
What are the conversations from other young girls or other women of color that are sliding into your DMs or emailing you or you're meeting in person? What are those conversations you're having with them about Blackness and in television and being a Black woman in 2020?
I still have conversations to this day, just last week, from other women who are now doing their natural hair journey. Someone who was about to go do an interview for a new job, and she said, "Should I do box braids? Should I just slick it all back?" And I was like, "Girl, I've seen your curls. They look incredible. Like, why not just go in?" And someone had told her, like, "Well, they've done focus groups, and they say that it's still not considered." I hate the focus groups.
Same.
I'm like, who are these people you're talking to? Like, bye. And I encouraged her. I was like, listen, at the end of the day, I want you to feel your best when you go in there for this job opportunity. This is your career, your livelihood. It should not be taken lightly. But just know that the way that you are presently, look in the mirror, is more than enough to get you that job. Right. And if they are going to slight you in that sense because of your natural hair, then you don't need to be there. Easier for me to say because, it's your paycheck, girl. Like, you got to pay your rent, you got to pay your bills.
Right.
But does it align with where you're supposed to be and what you need in your life?
There you go.
If that's what it is, it's a wrap. Like
It's a
there is
wrap.
going to be another space, another place that is going to accept you as you are. So that's it.
I had that same conversation. And isn't it interesting that I think in your 20s, you can't grasp that concept? Because I think as people of color, especially like being like, I too am Afro Latino. You are the hustle, work hard. You come from families that work really hard, and opportunity. It's like, take every opportunity and don't question don't ask why, don't question the givens. Just
be happy to
givens.
Be here.
Right, your seat at the table is over there. It's not really a seat you're going to stand, but you're lucky you're in the room. So a lot of people don't get that. Sometimes there's power in saying no. There's power in being like, this isn't for me, and thank you, but I have to keep it pushing. So thank you for bringing that up, because a lot of people even now even people in their 40s don't even get that, don't realize that, because we've been conditioned to feel, especially as people of color, that we are lucky to even be considered. You are lucky to even be thought about to be in the room. So you better be happy with that. And I've been there all too many. So I'm glad that you're having conversations like that even now. The NFL Network calls you, and they're like, "Hey, MJ, so there's this show called our #1 show, TotalAccess, and do you want to host it? What did you do? Like, did you have to pull over? Did you have what? I always like hearing these stories of when you get that call or the email or the text from your agent or your manager, or they call you directly. Like, what was that experience?
Well, I've been with the NFL Network already for 2 years in a reporter role in the Bay Area, predominantly covering the Raiders and the Niners, but sort of sprinkled all over the league. You have to be ready to cover all 32. That's sort of part of the gig. I got a tremendous opportunity throughout my first 2 seasons to fill in hosts, and I was really clear when I went in there. I was like, I love this. I'm so glad for this opportunity. I know I can crush it. Let's do it. I had never worked on a national platform before, so I was ready to let's go to work. Let me prove to you my work ethic and my talent. But I did speak up, and I think it's important for you to say these things to the people who are hiring you. This is where my goals are over the span of the next few years. I was like, listen, I'm 35 years old. I've been in this biz for 10 years. I'm very clear about what I want, and I hope that development will be available to me here. We didn't know in what capacity, but I definitely said, I want to be able to host at some point down the line and revisit this conversation with you guys. I know this is the position available, and I got this. I know I can do you proud. So they believed me, and they put me in that position. And then at Super Bowl, I got the tremendous opportunity to host Super Bowl Live the entire week for the network. And to me, in my head, I was like, all right, girl.
Right.
Mess this up. It's in Miami. This is your chance. This is show them what you got. And so to me, I took that week as much as I was in the moment. I was like, you got to bust out the whole arsenal. Leave nothing in the cupboards, all on the table. And I had an amazing time. And I really felt that entire week, this is where I'm supposed to be. This is it. And I hope that the bosses above, little did I know what God was already putting in the works, and what he was, these conversations were being had unbeknownst to me, thankfully. So I think when you're meant for something, you just have to show up, prepare, and be ready.
Just show up,
and
prepare,
everything
and be
else
ready.
will align.
Oh my God.
I didn't know what was coming, and then suddenly the pandemic hit. So I was like, well, dang, I just hope I still have a job, as we all did, because we just didn't know what it was going to look like. So I really wasn't expecting this platform, this show specifically, but the second they said it to me, I was like, yes, that was God's plan. This is what's supposed to happen. And it's just been tremendous. I mean, I can't, every day, literally the last few weeks that we've been in studio, it's like, yo, this is my life. This is my job for real. We out here. And I'm still getting used to okay, this is it. What happens when you hit that goal? When that dream is your reality. I don't think I was mentally prepared for that part of it. So I've just been focusing on the work, but I'm working on really accepting no, we've worked very hard for this. And I say we, because it is a village of people around me. You mentioned my best friends, this group chat, listen, those are my biggest cheerleaders, and I am theirs. It's a beautiful thing to have other women in the business where people try to condition you to go against each other. And all we do is amplify one another and lift each other up. And it has been this way for over a decade. I've known these women from the jump. Like when we say day ones, Kelly Blanco, Joy Taylor, Janice Fernandez, Jordana Paul, like those are my girls.
It's everyone watching. I'm telling you, truer words. I had Joy on the show. Kelly's been so awesome, and like I have never seen a more supportive, close knit, loving group of women that just goes hard for each other. Than you guys are like Sex in the City, Latina, the multicultural Sex in the City, like because you have each other's back through and through, and it was so heartwarming. I was like, I'm coming from LA. You don't get that in Los Angeles, right? People are like, nah, I can't support you because I'm on my grind. But it's awesome to see the success of of all of you guys and women in sports, just because like of the support and the sisterhood and the camaraderie. Coach Christina says, in regards to your Super Bowl coverage, best week ever, killed it.
Christina she's another a girl's girl, champion of women. So Christina and I, Super Bowl week, put together a seat at the table, like you mentioned, dinner for a very intimate dinner. Of course, the girls came through, and it was all about mentorship. We brought in local girls from Miami who are in the business, who just needed an in, right? Like that's what this business is all about. We're like, let's gather these women that we both know, these women who are trying to make it, and put them in a room together. And now Christina has amplified this and grown this group in the middle of the pandemic to be such a beautiful tapestry of other women supporting each other. And it's just growing and growing. Christina Hofstad is one of the most amazing people that I have met through the NFL, doing God's work, quite frankly, out here. So shout out to Christina as well. But that's the point. Like there are more women out there. I feel like, especially this generation of women in sports, of women in this industry, we realized very quickly, stronger together. And this whole like, oh, if she gets the job, then there's not going to be space for you. That's a lie. It's a lie.
It's complete lie. Shout out to Morgan McMichaels real quick. She's saying happy birthday to me. Hi, Morgan. Sorry, but you're thank you for the love, Morgan. You are completely right about it is a lie. And I think that conditioning, MJ, it stems way back. It's generational. As far as like women of color, men of color, there can only be one, and that if my success is indicative of the success you will never have, and that is a lie. It's not true, and I think we have to start recondition ourselves to be more supportive, because much like you supporting your girls that made the Miami Dolphins team when you did it, you still were like, you know what, I'm gonna go hard for them because that's what a good friend does. And I think when you do that, you are rewarded, and that does come back to you 10 times fold, and it has. I mean, it has. The league is sports, I would say. Sports is like the heart of this country, right? And the athletes are the blood that is pumped through that heart. And 100%. through that blood, 70% of them are Black men. And we are in a time of civil unrest, racism, police brutality, and just so many egregious things that in my lifetime I never thought I would see being played out right outside of our front doors. You have unprecedented access to these players. You have relationships with these players. You have conversations with these players that probably confide in you things or talk to you in a more nuanced way than they would the regular public, that they would other people. What are they saying about this season now being able to protest openly on courts, on fields? What are the conversations you're having with them about that? Because that's a huge turn of events, contrasting to last season and even 4 years ago with Cap kicking things off and really calling to light the bullshit that is happening to people of color in our country.
Straight up. I think the most remarkable thing that I've seen through all of this is that the players, and when we say like being able to protest, it's not even just the ability, it's the fact that like we're going to, because these issues affect us directly. It is my family, it is my brother, it is my son, it is my daughter, my mom, my sister. It's a very real thing to them. It's reality. It's not this like, oh, this cause, it's real life. And so what I love that is happening right now is that the players are taking their platforms, they are taking the reins and taking control and saying, no more. I am a Black man first, and that is first and foremost before I'm an NFL player, before I'm a celebrity, before I'm a public figure. And that's what it comes down to. You have to strip away all of those other titles and see people for who they are. And so when people say like, oh, I don't see color, like, no, you absolutely should, because it's part of our identity. And it's something we're very proud of. I think there's such a negative connotation. I mean, when we're talking about like our Afro Latinidad, right? When I say Afro Latina, it's because I'm just as much Black as I am Latina. And even just a quick sidebar, in the Latino community, there's this erasure of like the Blackness that comes with this too, especially from the Caribbean side. That's another lie for another day. We're going to compartmentalize that for 2 seconds.
But you're on the money.
I say that because it's true. And so there's that intersectionality involved with all of this as well. So when I talk to these men, when I talk to their wives, when I talk to their moms, we can see eye to eye and understand exactly where the person is coming from. And my experience in America as an Afro Latina is different from an African American's perspective here.
Sure.
But there is overlap, and there is certainly that point where you can empathize and certainly understand what's happening from a very real level. And so the conversations are very real in that sense. The New Orleans Saints are doing a tremendous initiative led and started by the players. So this wasn't like their communications department that said, hey, we're going to do this, wear a pin. No, it is the players organizing. They reached out to Black women in the business to get their perspective, and they're saying, say her name. So amplifying the stories of Black women who have been murdered through police brutality, who have been the victim of social injustice. And I love that it is them who are taking this on firsthand, on top of all of the other things that they're doing, because that is the most important part of it. Before the game, before any of that, it's who these people are, not just names on a list, not just hashtags.
100%. And, you know, I always say that athletes and musicians are the OG influencers. They influence so much when it comes to pop culture and the way we view things, from music to fashion. But also, they're still playing the game. The thing that irritates me is when people get upset that they protest, but then they still stay and watch the game, for which the reason why they were watching in the first place. It's like, you're still getting what you
wear
want.
The jersey.
Right. Like, calm down. Like, let these guys, let them use their platform. And it's also very heartwarming to see how creative, just from the jerseys, or just from the visual of Inside the Bubble and from games and whatnot. It's just like, they mean what they say. It's not performative. It's not this trendy thing that's like, I have to do it because it's like,
it's not checking off a box.
Right. There's a visceral, intrinsic, and as you have said, cellular connection to what is happening and them being fed up, because athletes, yes, $1 million contracts, celebrity, just, history, but they're also slaves to a system and a machine that will discard them very quickly, and much like our veterans who go off and fight and come back and don't have the support they need from a country. I feel like, and I could be wrong because I'm not in work for the NFL, but just watching documentaries and seeing games and reading articles, the leagues will discard a player so quickly and make a player a villain if they don't fall in line.
I mean, look at that. Are you kidding?
Right. And it's like, and it's sad because these also, again, athletes give of their body, they give of their time, they give up, they pretty much put their lives in danger to go play a game that we just sit back and be like, yeah, touchdown, Super Bowl, halftime show, oh my God, Doritos, but so it's really nice for them to be really present in what's going on and use their platform authentically and powerfully and say, hey, enough is enough. And again, the intersectionality of sports in this country and how that one thing that is so sacred to this country has also been one of the most powerful things to enact change in this country. Like it's just the universe. I'm telling you, the universe is up to something, don't you think?
Listen, full force. I mean, if this isn't the wake up call for everybody, I don't know what you need. A meteor, God, I'm not even saying
right. No, I'm not gonna know. Yes. you mentioned L's. A lot of L's. Right now, I'm reading Mariah Carey's book, The Meaning of Mariah Carey. And when I was reading the book and I was thinking about my interview with you today, MJ, I thought about a lot of similarities you have with Mariah Carey in the fact that people counted you out. People said you couldn't do. People looked at you and said you were other. They couldn't. They tried to put you in a box. They tried to not put you in a box. But you're so successful now, and you have this career. What do you say to those people who counted you out that said that you weren't worth your salt? What do you say to them now?
I don't say anything. I let the work speak for itself.
Love that. Oh,
that's it. You know what I'm saying?
Mic drop.
There's nothing to say because it's just, I wasn't listening to begin with, or I tried very hard not to. I mean, there's been so many things about just owning who you are and standing authentically in your own light, you know, even like with Dolphins, for example. I mean, I can't underscore that enough. How many people said they're not going to take you seriously if you're a cheerleader. They're not going to take you seriously if you're super feminine. Or I've heard a lot of women on the other side. They're not going to take you seriously if you don't fem it up and get a little like, why? Who are you to tell me that me as I am is not enough for what I'm doing? God forbid that all of my training and all of the work hours and all of the preparation that I put into it doesn't qualify me for this position. And whatever that looks like. For me, it was this. For another person, it's something else. But like, I think people want to categorize you because that's how they feel safe and how they feel comfortable, and it's their status quo. But it's not just your world, it's everybody's. And there is a place for everybody in it. And we can all shine equally in this space, in your light. If you're really pushing towards something that's greater, why not? Like, I'm so done with like these like stereotypes and normative roles. Like, not today, devil.
Not today, Satan. We're not having that. We're not having that. The future is something that's always on your mind. You're always thinking about the next step and how to get there while still kicking ass in the current step. What's the next step for you? What does the future hold, or what would you like to see come to fruition and happen for you?
Well, I definitely think there still needs a lot more representation from what we call like the higher ups, right? So I definitely see myself as an executive producer, having my own production company one day, and really calling the shots on every level and being able to have full ownership in the content that I'm creating and putting out in the world. And there's a long road to that, but I think every step sort of leads towards that. But in order to really tell our stories and to be forward facing and make an impact, we also have to have creative control. So that's definitely on the list of next steps.
I love it. And you feel supported right now with NFL Network. You feel good. You feel like you have that. You have what you need to get to that next step.
Yeah. And a lot of times it's learning what it is you need to ask for, right? Because this is a completely new role for me too. So I'm learning as I go and feeling like, okay, you know what? I really have to make sure that I say this when I'm in a meeting, or I really have to make sure that this is in place in order for me to succeed. And that it is not just okay to speak up for what you need, but it's necessary. Right. People before you have done it all along. So just because you look different than anyone else who has been in the position before doesn't mean that you don't have as much right to ask for what you need to be successful and to make sure that everything goes the way it needs to.
Absolutely. There you go. If someone wants to come up to you and say, MJ, how would you describe yourself as a woman? What would you say?
Oh, that's an interesting question. I would say I'm just a little different. You know, and that's fine. I think we all are. I think my personality has always been, it's weird because I always say that I'm an extroverted introvert. Like, I really do like the moments where I'm just like alone and, you know, just like watching TV or like just writing. I write a lot. Sometimes it's just notes. Other times it's like long form. But I also really love interactions with people. So I'm a little quirky and sort of a contradiction in that way. But that sort of encompasses my whole journey and who I am. So it's sort of like expect the unexpected when it comes to me.
Expect the unexpected. So good. MJ Acosta Ruiz, it has been so awesome to have you on the show. Where can they watch TotalAccess, and when is it on? Where can they watch? Can they stream it?
Yeah, so we're on every day on the NFL Network at 7 Eastern, 4 Pacific, if you're over on the West Coast like me. And then we have our platforms on Twitter. We're always posting content on NFL.com as well. And soon we will have an NFL TotalAccess Instagram as well. So we're getting there, multi-platform.
And we're here for all of it. MJ, has been so good talking to you today. You are a national treasure. All the best. Congratulations again. Cheering you on from Miami. I know you're in LA and the humidity doesn't exist there. How's LA treating you?
There's no humidity. I had to change all of my face creams and products, and there are many. But it's great. I mean, it's really warm here. So in terms of that, it's really cool. But I do miss my skin and my hair miss the humidity. I have a humidifier somewhere. I'm still moving, so it's in a box, Lord knows. But yeah, Cali's great. Always miss home, though. I miss croquetas. I think it was National Croqueta Day today. My heart hurts that I don't have any from Vicky Bakery today.
Well, we'll have many in your honor, boo. All the best. Good talking to you. Listen
Save me
again.
From myself.
So no, you need to listen. While you're in Los Angeles, hit up Bossa Nova.
Bossa
on Sunset
Nova.
Boulevard. It's
Writing
Brazilian.
this down.
No, for real. That's my spot. Like Bossa Nova is my spot. Okay. And also, if you want a yummy, delicious salad, the California Chicken Cafe is yummy as well. Those are my 2 recommendations for you. Enjoy.
We'll talk offline about this.
We will. All right, MJ. All the best. Great to have you on. You take care. I'll talk to you soon.
Thank you, Jason. You too. And happy birthday.
Thank you. Bye.